my boss, this big American guy, sitting me down and basically saying, you know, I like you. I think you're a good person. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. We can make life very difficult for you. I've done a million podcasts and we've spoken a lot about my time at Citibank, but I haven't been asked that much about the last couple of years at Citibank, which is when I was living in Tokyo in Japan. So in 2011, I was Citibank's top trader. I turned 25 that year, so still quite young. And I had this kind of crisis of meaning, or whatever you want to call it. We can talk more about it. And I sort of started trying to agitate to leave. And the bank kind of twisted my arm. Don't leave, go work in Tokyo. So I moved to Tokyo in September 2012 when I was about to turn 26. God, I was so young even then. And then I entered the sort of lost in translation period of my life where I'm in Tokyo, moved to Tokyo, didn't speak any Japanese, didn't understand Japanese culture, just like a young kid from London. I hated it. I was sick of trading already. I didn't understand the food, didn't understand the language, didn't understand the culture. All my friends were back home. My girlfriend was back home. So it's, you know, you have this very similar thing of you've been just suddenly pulled out of your comfortable environment. And I decided, like relatively quickly, like this is it, I'm done. I'm going to wait till bonus day, then I'm going to quit, and we'll discuss the terms, and then I'll quit. So I moved there end of September. Bonus days in January. So I think I go into my boss's office in beginning of Feb, and I tell him, look, I want to quit. And there's this kind of complicated situation where, like, the bank, they back then it was all about the bonus, and they would pay this bonus in like staggered fashion. So you get like a quarter every year for 4 years, and that is precisely to stop like very successful young traders from retiring, basically, just suddenly leaving. But there was this way you could leave if you went to work for charity, and I was like, I'm going to take that, I'm going to get the money, I'm going to fuck off, I'm going to be out. And the opening scene in my book basically is my boss, this big American guy, sitting me down and basically saying, you know, and what he literally said was, I like you, I think you're a good person. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. We can make life very difficult for you. That started like a period of like, you know, I don't know if you've seen this news this news recently about a banker called Tom Hayes. Have you seen that? So Tom Hayes used to work for Citibank.
Right.
And he was dragged through the courts for years and years and years and years and years for this libel scandal. You can read about it. The truth is, Tom Hayes, I don't know him. I hear he's almost like kind of autistic, not very socially skilled. This guy was the fucking fool guy. You know what I mean? The big guys, they pick a guy out. This guy, he's not got a lot of friends. He's the fucking fool guy. Take this guy. They can do that. They can fuck you up, basically. And here was me, just turned 26, with like one of the biggest guys in Citibank. Yeah, we're going to fucking, if you leave, we're going to sue you. And again, I had the choice to make, which is like, are you going to back down, take the easy path, or are you going to stick to your guns and say like, no, are you going to fucking fight one of the biggest corporations in the world? And whether out of bravery or stupidity, I chose to fight Citibank.
How did you make that decision?
Honestly, it was initially the bosses said you can't take your sick leave. It has to be approved by the company doctor. And I was like freaking out. I was like, I'm sure the company doctor's going to fuck me over. But I went in there and the company doctor was like a really, really nice old Japanese guy. And the guy sat me down and he was just like, you know, tell me what's happening, tell me what's wrong. And I broke down there in the office. And it was really weird in a way because I was still in the state of mind where I thought I was applying for sick leave in a kind of strategic move against Citibank. And then when the guy asked me what happened, I broke down like a man who was genuinely like on the verge of a breakdown almost. And it was this like little thing where I sort of realized like, fuck me, like maybe you actually are fucked.
Yeah.
And he was super, super nice and he gave me 3 months off and I walked out and it just felt like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't have like a full plan. But it was just so amazing to know, like, I don't have to come in tomorrow. I'd never really for a second just stopped and slowed down.
Right.
And suddenly, just like when I got expelled from school and there was nothing to do, I wake up the next morning and you've got nothing to do. Except now, like, I don't have to study for my exams. And, but what I did was, and this is quite funny because you see I sat down at my dining room table in my living room in Japan, in Tokyo, and I pulled out my Japanese textbooks. And I was like, I'm going to learn Japanese. I'm going to learn Japanese because I knew that what their plan was, they knew I hated Japan. And they weren't going to let me leave. And they were going to think, if we force him to stay stuck in Japan, he'll quit. If you quit, you lose the money they owe you. I couldn't quit. I had to be fired, or I had to be allowed to leave under this like charity route. And I was like, if they're going to freeze me out and make me hate Japan, well, I'm going to fucking love Japan then. And I'm going to study Japanese every fucking day until I can fucking fluent in Japanese. And I would spend all day sitting on at my living room table, learning kanji, which is, the little like pictorial characters.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started like learning Japanese, this thing happened. And I think anyone who's studied a foreign language and lived in a country will recognize this, which is you think you're studying the language, but through studying the language, you start to understand so much better the culture of the place. Japan is so different in a lot of ways. And then I started for the first time in my life to experience something that wasn't just about fucking winning. Up until then, it'd been like, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win, I want to be the best, I want to get the best exams, I want to get the best job, I want to be the best trader, I want to make the most money. And suddenly it was like, fuck me, I'm in this place, Tokyo, biggest city in the world. I'm learning the country. Everyone here, they think about things so differently. Then I just wanted to watch Japanese movies and learn about Japanese food and speak to Japanese people. So I had this moment of like, I think it was the first time in my life where I realized that actually life is not just about winning. Maybe it's important to just like actually live your life and enjoy yourself.
And how did it end up playing out with Citibank?
So I had 3 months sick leave. Then I had to go back. And then like I was still fucked. So like the guy gave me another 3 months. Then I had to go back. And I was still fucked. So the guy gave me another 3 months. But then Citibank said, if you take that third 3 months, there's some like fucking clause in your contract. You've taken too much time off. We can take all the money back that we owe you. So I was forced to go back into the office. And I remember I was terrified, to be honest. I'm not like too proud to admit it. I was like kind of like shaking on the way in. Because I'd had my 6 months away from this space and I was forced to go back in. I went back in and I knew they weren't going to let me be a trader. And then they had the little seat for me in the corner. They had a little seat for me in the corner, around the corner, working in some fucking admin team or something with like a bunch of these guys that look like they've hated their job for 30 years and like all of the life is gone, the grey, what have I called him in the book? Gerald Gunt is his name in the book. And this guy gave me like a load of the world's most boring spreadsheet work to do. And I sat down there in the corner of the trading floor and I thought, this is it, is it? This is what they've got. Like they think they're going to take me out of this with fucking spreadsheet work. So it was like a month's worth of spreadsheet work, like an enormous amount. And I did it in 5 minutes. I did like the shittest job you could ever do. Because I was trying to be fired, all right? I got called into a meeting with Gerald Gunt, is his name in the book. And he was like, can you show me a spreadsheet work? And I was like, here you go. And it was obviously like the shittest job you could ever imagine. He's looking at it like, is this it? And I'm like, yeah, that's it. He's like, is that what you've done? And I'm like, yeah, that's all I've done. And then he was like, it's not good enough. And I was like, well, maybe your explanation wasn't good enough. And then they realized like, if what we're trying to do is not fire him, but then we can't fucking force him to do work because we'll just do a shit job basically. So then they realized they couldn't do nothing. And then it was funny. You kind of like, you stared the demon in the face. And then I realized that actually I had kind of the best job in the world because I was getting paid 120 grand a year back in 2013. My housing was paid for, nice house. All I had to do was go into the office for like an hour, 2 hours a day, study Japanese, print off my documents for my lawyers. There was a really nice spicy ramen place near the restaurant. I'd go there, have this super spicy ramen, and then I would just go home and go to bed every day. And by then I spoke fluent Japanese. I had a Japanese girlfriend. So it was kind of, it's sort of a message of what happens when you sort of lean into your failure. And it was quite comedic, to be honest. And I sat on that for a good 6 months, basically. And I figured that I could probably leave whenever I wanted. But then the management, HR called me in and was like, why haven't you applied to leave yet? And I was like, well, actually, I'm having quite a good time. And then they were like, we think you should apply to leave. So I applied to leave and they rejected it.
Here's the truth. Your body is like an engine and you need to keep it at its best day in, day out. I mean, think of it this way. You wouldn't fuel a racing car on cheap fuel. So why are you doing similar to your body? I take Heights Vitals. I take them every single day. They stop me feeling run down, sluggish. I used to have brain fog. Not anymore. 2 small capsules. These act as my premium grade fuel. I'm keeping with the racing metaphor. So Vitals are a blend of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, omega-3, all the Bs, basically everything you need to perform at your best. So if you're looking for something that keeps you in the driving seat with your nutrition, your brain and body health, then this is it. Taken by athletes, Olympians, and even some well-known racing drivers. This stuff works. So if you're looking to fuel right this year, go to heights.com/Jake or enter the code HP20 at checkout for 20% off your first order and start your journey today.
And I think what they wanted to show me was, listen, you can't just fuck around. You have to choose. Like, are you going to walk away from the money, or are you going to come back to work? So the fight was back on, and I immediately broke up with my girlfriend. Started losing weight again. That's when I knew like we had to have a serious fight, basically.
Yeah.
Because I was happy to sit in the corner for 6 months, but are you going to sit in the corner for 4 years? It's a long time to sit in the corner. I kind of went crazy. I remember that's when I started to lose weight. I started to exercise like crazy. There's this massive Emperor's Palace in the middle of Japan. It's about 5 kilometers to run around. And I remember I stopped sleeping when I was, I had a lot of problems with depression back then. When I was depressed, I couldn't sleep, and I'd spend all night just running around this Emperor's Palace, and I was skinny as fuck again. And I decided to just like go fucking mental, basically. And I started to email like the CEO, global head of HR, talking about all of the shit that they'd done to me and how it wouldn't look good in the papers and shit like that. And within like a couple of weeks of doing that, they let me leave, basically.
With the money?
I was able to leave with the money. Yeah, I was able to leave with the money. Yeah. But it was a long fight. But yeah, I got out. And I think it's funny, if you read the book, I've left it intentionally ambiguous. Like, did he actually fight for the money, or did he actually fight because he wanted to do this work about inequality and about trying to achieve, a fairer system and better living standards? But you can look at my work now and you can make your choice, I guess.